Hello and welcome to our video training series. This is video number 2. And video number 2 is all about how to fix your mind, which we started to talk about in the first video, but now we're going to go into that whole topic in a lot more detail. So first of all, let me again share my screen with you. Let me just go into seminar number 2. That's it. Let me go into slideshow. So like before, you'll be able to see me in the top, here we go, top corner again, and I'll be able to show you the slides. So a very warm welcome to training video number 2, and this one is called How to Fix Your Mind. Really, really interesting topic and very dear to my heart. So again, quick recap, this is me, Lindsay Agnes, Master Trainer of something called Neuro-Linguistic Programming. I'm going to explain a bit more about that. 11 years working as a change management consultant, particularly on the people side of change for PricewaterhouseCoopers. Now 12 years running my own business, very much focused on the professional and personal side of change. And a writer of 4 books on change, including Change Your Life with NLP, which was a bestseller and translated into many different languages. And I always like to share with people, my philosophy about life and the way I work with people, because my ambition and my belief, my belief that everybody has the power to become the person that they absolutely want to be and live their lives with passion and purpose in order to reach their true potential. So that's always my starting point. And I'm always working with people like you to really encourage them and give them a toolkit so that you can actually go off and start doing something differently. So let's get started. So a quick activity before we have a look into the toolkit. And I call this, what are you thinking about? One of the things I'd like you to start doing is start becoming aware of what's going on in your brain, in your mind. I talked about fixing our minds. When I talk about our minds, it's really our thoughts that I am focusing on. So just take a few moments now just to let your mind relax a little. So whether you're watching this on your mobile or on your PC, wherever it might be, just allow your mind to relax a little. And just as we can be aware of our feelings and our movements in our body, we can also take a step back from our thoughts and just simply observe what's going on. And last time I talked to you about having your journal. I'm going to talk about that again later on. Make a note about what you notice about your thoughts. And I talk here about, and for the next 24 hours, pay attention to your thoughts. Now, obviously, you're not going to be able to do that all the time, but whenever you get a moment, just reflect on what's actually going on up here. And when you're out there busy working, again, just when things pop into your mind, you think, oh, that's interesting. I'll make a note of that, write it down. So for the next 24 hours, pay attention to your thoughts and feelings. Notice if your thoughts are on the whole positive or are they on the whole negative. So are they supporting you and positive, or are they pretty negative and in some way holding you back and sabotaging you? So, if they're supporting you, then they'll be really saying, yeah, let's go, let's do this, let's go for it. Or in some way, are they holding you back? Well, who do you think you are? You're not going to be able to do this. And are they, full of negative emotions? And make a note in particular of some of the recurring patterns, both positive and negative, that you notice, because you may well be very surprised by the results. For example, you might think you're a very positive person, and you're actually, when you start observing your thoughts, maybe you're having more of a downer on yourself than you thought. Or maybe you thought you were quite negative, but actually, on the whole, you're a pretty positive person. So, really spend the next 24 hours at least, becoming the observer of your own thoughts. Now, I said I would tell you more about NLP, or Neuro-Linguistic Programming, and here it is. So it's absolutely transformed my life. I began my NLP journey in 1997 when I became a practitioner of NLP. and then I became a master practitioner, and then a trainer, and now a master trainer of NLP, which is the highest level, if you like, that you can get to in NLP. And I really liked NLP because for the first time in my life, I actually had a toolkit, ways to make a change in my life and ways to make a change with others that actually worked. And it's because this is what it's all about. You know, neuro is around our nervous system, or what we think, you know. So when we talk about fixing our mind and turning off that little negative internal dialogue, this is what we're talking about. You know, it's what goes on inside our thought process or our nervous system. Linguistic is all about what we say in terms of our words and how we project ourselves out into the world in terms of our body language. You know, so when you, see if this works, you know, when you are out there, you know, do you come across as a really strong, you know, confident, grounded person? Or are you, you know, projecting yourself in a way that, you know, people look at you and instantly they think, oh, that person's not very confident, or they don't think a lot about themselves. You know, how are you projecting yourself out into the world? The programming part of NLP, really interesting. This is all about, you know, what we do, which is generated by our belief about what is possible. So who was it that said, you know, whether you believe that something is possible or not, or whether you believe you can do something or not, you know, you will always prove yourself right. And that's because of the programming that goes on inside, you know, our nervous system. So it's about what we think, what we say, and what we do. And NLP can be best described as an instruction manual for the brain. So very, very powerful toolkit for personal and professional change. And this is one of the reasons why it's so powerful. We call this the NLP communications model. So if you imagine for a moment, you know, that every second we're absorbing events from the outside world through our senses. So what we see, what we hear, what we smell, we touch, we feel. And it's been estimated that, you know, we can absorb up to, you know, a couple of million bits of information every second. It's incredible, absolutely incredible. And yet we can only process a very small proportion of that. So if we take in 2 million bits, we can only process, you know, around about 126 bits of that, 2 million every second. So what happens is, as you can see in this middle filter, is that we're filtering stuff out every second of every day. And much of this happens at an unconscious level. And we filter everything through our past experiences and our programming. And often we delete opportunities that are out there for us. So for example, you know, if because of my programming in the past, the way I was brought up, maybe the school I went to, you know, I really don't believe that I'm going to amount to very much. So what happens is, as you know, as all these opportunities come in, I'm filtering them. And actually, I'm deleting a lot of those opportunities because I don't believe they're possible. And this all happens at an unconscious level every second of every day. And what's interesting is what pops out the other side of our filters, in very simplistic terms, you know, that becomes our thoughts, or in NLP terms, what we call our internal representations. And this is why I asked you to become an observer of your own thoughts, because it's really important to start noticing what's going on up here in your own internal representations. You know, how do you experience life? Do you experience life as tough, hard, a battle? Or is it pleasant? You know, do you really feel excited about the opportunities out there? And then what's interesting, it's like a cycle here, because our thoughts will drive our mood or how we feel. So again, you know, if you're feeling really motivated and happy, you know, that will drive your mood. But equally, if you're feeling, you know, down, depressed, not good, then that will drag down your mood. And equally, you know, your mood or your state will influence your body language or your physiology, and that will influence your behavior and ultimately, you know, the results that you get. I often say to people, you know, there's a lot involved in actually changing the filters or breaking, you know, with some of the programming from the past and sorting your head out, yet, you know, it absolutely can be done. So think about this, you know, as a cycle going on every second of every day, you know, and what's happening in your nervous system. What are your thoughts doing in terms of influencing, your behavior and your results? Because when you see people out in the street, you just look at them and you can often make some kind of judgment in terms of what mood are they in, what's going on for them. So just make sure, that your thoughts and internal representations are stacked up, to support you, rather than, holding you back in some way, because that's very much the first step in terms of fixing your mind. Let's have another look. Because I talked about programming, and it's important to understand that some people think that it's our experience is what leads to our beliefs, but it's actually the other way around because of this cycle. Because we're deleting, generalizing, distorting things every second of every day, that actually it's our beliefs that form a really important part of our filters. And our beliefs will be driving what we believe is possible or not. So it's our beliefs about ourselves that shape our destiny. So for example, if deep down you believe you're not good enough to accomplish something, then over time that belief starts to become a reality, and it starts to create and become a self-fulfilling prophecy. So again, it's really important to start to examine your beliefs and free yourself from some of those old thinking patterns that absolutely no longer serve you. So we've talked a bit about our thoughts, first of all, becoming the observer of our thoughts, and then starting to have a look at what happens in our set of filters. What are our beliefs actually allowing through, or are we deleting? It's really important to start understanding this. And equally, your words say more than you realize. This is the L in NLP, the linguistic. The way we share and express our thoughts and our beliefs is through our language. And the language we use makes a huge difference. So again, start to notice the language you use and start to move it to a much more positive place. And notice how you feel about people, events, situations, and circumstances in your life as things begin to change. So I'll give you an example. Now, if you notice that you're someone that talks about things not being possible, or you can't do something, or life is tough, it's a battle, start to notice, start to change that language. Start to change it to more of a language of possibility and opportunity, and notice what happens. Now, again, you remember last time I talked about the fact that 40% of our behaviors are habits, they're done unconsciously. And so I'm not going to stand here and say this is easy thing to do, and yet it's absolutely possible. And it's important to start somewhere. So again, use your journal, start to notice how you use language. What is it that you're talking about? Would other people describe you as a glass half empty or a glass half full person? Are you a radiator or are you a drain? People will tell you, they'll give you that feedback. So ask the people around you. And this is one of the really important things to start in order to fix your life, fix your mind, fix your life. Now, life is a chain reaction of both causes and effects. Everything that happens was caused by something that happened before, and is the effect for what happens next. And some people seem really stuck on the effect side, always blaming others when things don't go to plan. And so it's really important to start taking much more responsibility for what happens in your life and start moving to the cause side of the equation, which will, although, sometimes it's not necessarily the easiest thing to do, because actually staying at effect and blaming other people when things don't go to plan can be a bit easier. But moving to cause, you're absolutely, I can guarantee, start to learn some really, really interesting things about yourself. Because when you're at cause, one of the things, there's a few important questions you can ask yourself that are different. One is, how did I create this in my life? Look at this picture. How did she create this? What can I learn from this experience? And what do I need to do differently? So how did I create this? What can I learn? And what do I need to do differently next time? And that will help you start to become at cause for all the effects that happen in your life. And it's one of the things that can start propelling you into success faster than absolutely anything else. So again, you know, live life at cause for the next month and notice what happens. The other piece of good news that I wanted to share with you that comes from neuroscience is we absolutely know now that plasticity of the brain is a fact. So when we start to talk about fixing the brain, we're actually talking about, you know, creating new neural pathways, new habits, new behaviors. And we know that new neurons, which are the basic building block of the brain, are created. You know, when years ago, you know, scientists thought that the neurons you were born with, that was it, you know, and they would just die off as you got older. But we can create new neurons, which is great when we start to think about how we can change. Interestingly, though, we make fewer new neurons when we're anxious, and we make a lot more when we exercise and learn new things. So get out there, you know, and exercise, and keep listening to these videos, because this is good for you. We know this now. It's a scientific fact. And we can create new neural pathways. Now, that can be easier for some people than others. You know, and these pathways become stronger the more we use these new behaviors. So some neural pathways are a little bit like a little gentle stepping path, you know, through a woodland. Others might be like a 6-lane motorway. So, you know, I'm not going to try and kid you, that sometimes to change a habit or your programming takes time. And yet, you know, it's really important to start somewhere. Remember, 40% of our behaviors are unconscious, you know, are just habits. So it's really important to start building up this level of awareness so that we can start to do something differently. So I just wanted to pull some of these ideas together because we've gone through a lot on this particular training video. So remember journaling. Now, journal every day. Help you notice what you are focusing on, you know, what's going on in your nervous system, your thoughts. What do you start to learn about your beliefs? How are you using language? Now, write it down and start to notice what you can learn about yourself. And then start to shift from what is not possible to what is possible. You know, very, very important. Another thing we know that often if you're feeling a negative emotion is actually name it and write it down, you know, and ask yourself, where does this come from? Because this is really important. Is whenever, you know, we want to do something and we don't feel good about it, that is a direct link back to our programming. So there's something in our programming that is making us feel bad about that. Okay, really important. So write it down and ask yourself, where does this come from? You know, some of my students, and I've had this a lot in the past, have said to me when they've started to think about this, that actually, you know, it was just a teacher at some point in their schooling that just throw away comments sometimes. You know, who do you think you are? You're not going to amount to much. That can start to have a profound effect on their lives until they get to the point when they realize that all our beliefs are generalizations. Many of them are not true, and that we can change them. So remember, you've always got a choice, you know, even when it feels like you don't. Remember that acronym around fear from the first video? Fear holds us stuck. So remember, you know, it can often be false evidence appearing real. And as you start to understand a lot more about what's going on in your nervous system, you'll start to be able to distinguish between what is absolutely a generalization and not real for you, and what might feel a bit more real that you have to do a bit more work on. Remember from the first video, goals give us focus, so keep working on those. And it's a balance, you know, a strong vision will help move you through any resistance. I often talk to people like a set of scales. And when your vision and your goal is stronger than any fear you might have about doing something different, that's when you'll actually go off and start to achieve some really great stuff. And successful people are the ones who are willing, you know, to take massive action to achieve their goals. So be willing, you know, to take that step outside of the grey zone and start to do something differently. So that was training video number 2. Next time, training video number 3, we're going to learn a lot more about how to keep fit and healthy in midlife. And again, if you want to learn more, have a look at our website, agewithattitude.co.uk. And if you've really had value from these videos, then just imagine what you would learn if you were to come and spend 3 days with me and some of my special guests at our regular mind and body retreats. You'll find a lot more information on those on the website. So agewithattitude.co.uk, mind-body-retreat. I really, really, really look forward to seeing you there. And I look forward to joining you for video number 3, how to lead a fit and healthy life, tomorrow. So take care. I'm just going to stop sharing this now so I can say goodbye properly. So thank you for joining me again. So this is Lindsay Agnes signing off of training video number 2. And I look forward to joining you for number 3 very, very shortly. So take care. Have a great day. Bye-bye.